Pacers 1 win away from back-to-back conference finals for the first time since 2014. Tyrese Halliburton.
Zeke, that's that walk.
You walking in like Caitlin Clark. Come on. I see you.
Cavs, the top seed in the East, have not beaten the Pacers in Cleveland all season or the playoffs. There's Donovan Mitchell, a game-time decision. Know about him with his ankle injury and what he means for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But you got skills that pay the bills. What about this? Denver OKC. That's next level, Zeke.
I like that. I like that. Oh, is he making it all net?
He's making it.
How you do that? I would be so nervous.
How do you practice that?
You know, at some point in time, he had to fall at some time, right?
Welcome to Playoff Central Live, presented by AT&T.
How do you break your fall when you fall off of that?
That's the champion, Steve Smith. That's the Hall of Famer, Isaiah Thomas.
Is it a basketball game tonight?
We got two. Yes. We start today's show with some breaking news about the reigning champs and their all-star, all-NBA performer, Jason Tatum, had torn Achilles surgery today, Zeke. So what's the road like back for a player that undergoes a surgery like that?
Well, it's a long road back mentally and physically. The physical part of it is, the first couple of weeks, you're going to be in a little pain. And, they got good medicine now to take care of that. But, trying to stay off of it, trying to not put pressure on it, and then watching your teammates play. And I think all of us who have had this injury knew it, right away when it happened, and he knew it too. Now the mental part is going to be really tough because, you're right in the middle of a championship run. You can make a difference for your team, and you're trying to do something historical, trying to win back-to-back championships, which is something that, not even Larry Bird was able to do for the Celtics when he was playing. So this is going to be a tough road back. It'll probably be, 9 months to a year before he's really able to get back to playing. This is not a 4 or 5 month injury. Even with all the technology and medicine today, I still think you're looking at 9 to 12 months.
Smitty, for the Boston Celtics, obviously down 3-1 in the Knicks. Their series not over yet, but Jason Tatum, their top performer, Jaylen Brown, also a top performer for them. How can they come back in this series being down 3-1 without Tatum on the floor?
Well, they got to play good basketball. They can't turn it over. They have to change their mindset. Obviously, your number one option is out. Jaylen Brown steps up as the number one option. Derek White, but I think it's going to be the key. I don't know how healthy he is as Porzingis. How many minutes he can stay on the floor. But I also think if you're watching the Boston Celtics, this is a game that the Knicks can't take lightly because they can win this one, and then the pressure goes on them going back to New York. I think Knicks win this series, but that's the champions. You got to beat them.
And, Zeke, when I look at the Boston Celtics, obviously they were set up for this time period to win a championship. Congrats to them. Going forward, though, a lot of decisions to be made financially for them from a front office perspective, right? Does this change how they operate, knowing that next season when it starts, they're not going to have Jason Tatum on the floor?
Oh, it definitely changes. And it changes. It changed the minute that the new owner bought the team. I think all of us, kind of knew, and even probably the players themselves knew that this was going to be, their last run together as a team, this group. Moving forward, I'm sure they'll be looking at how do you move some pieces around, especially if players are going to be injured. But with Brad Stevens in the front office, make no mistake about it, they're going to stay in championship contention. Now, will they be able to get the same type of team, play the same type of style? That's going to be the question.
Yeah, one team in the Eastern Conference had a better regular season record than the Boston Celtics. They are also facing elimination. Their star from that 2017 draft as well, Donovan Mitchell, left the last game with an ankle injury, questionable, a game-time decision tonight. Here's their head coach, Coach of the Year, Kenny Atkinson.
I can't give you a definitive, right? It's never, because we always test before the game, and we always do but my real hope and is that he plays. That's kind of all I can say.
So you see Kenny Atkinson in that situation. I mean, his body language, it's clear he doesn't know if Donovan Mitchell's going to play tonight yet. But, Smitty, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, their one win in the series, 22 points. Their 3 losses are situations where you're like, man, it seems like Cleveland has a chance of a crazy comeback by Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. If Donovan Mitchell is not on the floor, what's the key for Cleveland?
Well, the key for it is somebody has to understand is Zeke's been around, you played. There's plays, there's strategy, and then there's I just want to beat you. Mm-hmm. I don't see that from the Cleveland Cavaliers. There's plays in basketball where it has nothing to do with skill. It's just you come out there, and I'm not saying being physical, you want to fight. I think there's just plays where I'm going to box out as hard. I'm going to make this play, and it becomes just making winning plays. It's almost like Zeke when we grew up. I don't want to sit. I don't want to sit and the next team come up. I don't see that next level of no matter what, we got to win this game from a lot of the Cavaliers. I've seen it from Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
And I take my hat off to him how he's played in this series thus far.
And I would say what you're talking about, we see it in Indiana, right? And why is that? When you look at Carlisle's history, right? Talking about Coach Carlisle, played in Boston, with the Celtics, so he understands, what that grit is all about. Spent some time in Detroit, understands a little toughness there. Then Dallas, right? Won a championship in Dallas. And then, he's come back from being down 3-1 in the series. So when you talk about toughing it out, being rough, changing style of play, heart, determination, all of that. Then in Indiana, you look at Carlisle and you look at that team has taken on the personality of Rick Carlisle. Now, Rick Carlisle, a lot of people will say, well, he's a nice guy. Then some people will say, oh, he's a nasty guy. Like he won't even speak to you sometimes. But when you look at Indiana, and I look at Halliburton in Sacramento, I look at Halliburton now, whether he get 4 points or 30 points, he's sticking his chest out like, I'm better than you, we better than you, and we coming to win. The series they had with New York last year, I mean, Smitty, come on. That was back and forth. And I think they grew from that, right?
I totally agree. And I it's what you said, Zeke. And there's some guys, we know they're stars on all teams. The guy I'd love watching for Indiana is Neesmith. Neesmith, he going to end up in the back stanchion. He going to end up on the floor. He going to end up some kind of way he in it. And they have guys that want to play. I love TJ McConnell.
Yes.
It just seems like they coming out there and saying, I can miss shots, but I'm going to defend, I'm going to rebound, and we pushing it.
Yeah.
So, Smitty, when I look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, right, obviously Darius Garland missed 4 straight games coming into this series and returned in Game 3. Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year, missed Game 2, out a lot of Game 1, came back in Game 3 and had an impact. Same thing for All-Star Darius Garland. Now Donovan Mitchell dealing with an injury. How much of the Cavs facing a team like the Pacers who get up and down the court, how much is it hurting them in this series to not be whole in the sense of injury plague?
Well, I look at series like this. When you're the number 1 seed, the only impact you have in a game is when you have a W. Everything else doesn't matter. When you start to get to playoffs, you're not playing for an all-star. You're not playing for a contract. You're not playing for accolades right now. I got to make an impact to win the game. And they are getting stats. We're not getting W's with your stats. So today, I put this on Jared Allen and Mobley. You got to come up with, together, 35 rebounds. If we're going to miss shots, we're going to grab every rebound. So I want to see the two big dominate Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam. That's no easy task. But to win, that's what you guys are going to have to do.
Zeke, when I look at this series, all things considered, what stands out the most in the Cavs' single win was Tyrese Halliburton only having 4 points, 2 for 8 from the field. What is it about that one game where they were able to limit Tyrese Halliburton as compared to the rest of the series?
Well, with Halliburton, it's not his scoring that impacts the game. So when Halliburton is scoring the basketball, that means Indiana is playing at a slower tempo. But when Halliburton is distributing and pushing the tempo, that means everybody's involved, and therefore he doesn't have to get 25, 30 points. Halliburton is a master right now. He and T.J. McConnell at controlling the tempo. They're keeping the Pacers playing at a faster pace. They're keeping them excited. They're keeping that ball moving, and they're keeping energy flowing through their offense. Now, when the game slows down, that's when Halliburton becomes a more effective scorer because now they're running more of their half-court sets. But when they're in tempo and they're in transition, his job is to speed up the pace, and that's the most important thing for him right
We're
now.
going to break. I wanted to give you an example what Zeke was talking about. When I was young, I was playing against Isaiah. I used to always follow through and hold it.
Yeah.
Well, I shot it, and Zeke was getting the ball. I'm shooting and trying to hurry up and get back. I'm shooting it, but I was already, my mindset wasn't to follow through with the shot. It was to hurry up and get back, and I think that's what's happening right now to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, and I also think the mindset of the injuries that Cleveland is coming to the arena with is also affecting them. There's no reason why they shouldn't win this game at home tonight in the playoffs after being a 64-win team.
Yeah, the team with the best record in the Eastern Conference, also the team with the best record in the Western Conference. In action tonight, the MVP finalists down to the best 2 out of 3. You're watching Playoff Central Live, presented by AT&T.
Hard-fought game. Playing here is not easy. Playing them is not easy, but coming here, split, get the home court back that we wanted, and got it done.
The Thunder will even this series at 2 games apiece as they storm into Denver and win 92-87.
Was this do or die?
Yeah, every game is do or die in a series against a really good team. One game can shift the complete control of the series, and we realized that. Every game here on out, and the past 4 have been do or die. We keep that mentality.
They're a great team over there, so we just got to keep pushing, keep executing, and it was a big win.
Got to do what you got to do, man. 3-game series, home court advantage. You got to make it happen.
There's a reason that everybody loves the playoffs. It's because it's really challenging, and you got to be able to rise to different challenges. Competition's about throwing punches, and competition's about taking punches. And every time you take punches and you get back up, you get stronger. We're a stronger team right now than we were 4 games ago because of these experiences, and we just have to continue to take that mindset to whatever comes our way.
Series tied at 2-2, but there's something we got to point out to you. Uncharacteristic Nikola Jokić. 15 assists to 16 turnovers in the last 3 games. That's after having that epic 40-25 assist game. Remember, only 4 players in NBA history have done that in a playoff game. Smitty, it's not as if the Oklahoma City Thunder have a tremendous amount of size. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but first, let's hear from both teams.
Yeah, competition's about throwing punches, and competition's about taking punches, and every time you take punches and you get back up, you get stronger, and that's what we're preaching to our team. That's a good thing for us. You have to embrace every experience that happens in the playoffs, whether it's positive or a challenge.
And yeah, I do put a lot of pressure on myself. I have very high expectations for myself. I always have. I always dream big and reach for the stars. The series is 0-0 in its first of 2 games.
Of course, they're favorites. They're playing amazing. They won 6, 7, how many games they won. But we need to give ourselves a chance to be close and to be up and to just to give ourselves a chance to win a game.
You got to go into the reserve tank. All the years growing up, doing the sprints, doing suicides, for all the years that you've been hurt and haven't been played, You gotta tap into that area. Just the battery reserve. I just have confidence in this team, regardless of what arena that we're playing and regardless of the circumstances.
That's Smitty, right to Nikola Jokić and the numbers. You see him on the screen now. To that point, he's scoring more each game, but the most inefficient you will ever see him throughout the course of the season. And this is after having a 40-point game in Game 1. What have you noticed about how the Thunder are guarding?
Well, first of all, they're one of the best teams in the league defensively, and then they're young. And I think after Game 1, they understood that we have to hit Joker and keep a body on him and rotate bodies. I love the way they've been playing. Coach Dagnall is saying, hey, meet him early, get in his space, always be hand to touch, always be in that situation, and look at the help they're saying we got 2 7-footers. We're going to make you play. Hartenstein blocks that one. And obviously, I think the Joker's a little tired. This is my favorite, Zeke. This is Caruso. What is he, 6'5", 6'6"? That is a battle. I mean, he is battling. Okay, well, guess what? If you get a little bit of an advantage, here come our point guard to be able to challenge, and that's SGA. Last is a different defender right now is Jalen Williams being able to guard him, but also you see right here, that's a block shot. They are doing a good job of battling, and guys are coming over. I love the way Jalen Williams has played him coming off the bench. I'm going to meet him. As soon as it's time to post up, I'm going to touch first. Catch, Lou Dort, hands, high hands. They are doing a good job, and they're saying, you're going to have to beat us with somebody touching you in your bodies. Even to the three-point line, they're closing out to touch Isaiah, and I think that's the best thing to do, not because of his shot making. If you're a passer and you let him just see what he wants to do, he's going to pick you apart.
Now, Zeke, as a guy who won a Finals MVP and understands all of that pressure when you're back in the postseason and teams go number one on the scouting report, can't let him beat us. How do you adjust to that if you're Nikola Jokić as this series progresses?
Well, as Smitty pointed out, right now they're playing close enough to touch, right? Mm-hmm. And so every time you catch the basketball, there's a defender not only guarding you, but he's also physically in your space. And therefore, you're not able to just catch it and play face forward to the rim. Now you see Nikola has to play sideways, and they're sending them to places where there's help. And they're forcing them either left to a shot, coming back right. There's always help. Now, what makes defense so good is, A, when you have defenders that are close enough to touch, right? So I get a tactical touch, but you know I'm in your space. So you have to play sideways. And then weak side defense, are you quick enough to help and recover? So you mentioned Dort and all the other guys, right? When you see them on the weak side, they're quick enough, long enough to deflect. They're not playing with their hands down. They're playing with hands up. So they're taking up space. So anytime Nikola throws a pass, it has to be in the air. There are no direct pinpoint passes because now you got hands. So the defenders now are quick enough while that ball is in the air, they can move, get back to their offensive player, and also be close enough to touch, making those passes very difficult.
There's 2 players for the Denver Nuggets when I look at their wins in this series. Aaron Gordon, number 1 on that list, right? 21 points per game when they win in the playoffs, had the game-winning dunk, had a game-winning 3. We know what his level can be. Is that what they need from him? And also, Michael Porter Jr., obviously, his best game in the series was also.
Yeah, he's struggling with his shoulder, but I think Aaron Gordon, he's played phenomenal in his playoffs. Obviously, they're going to need more, but I think what's hurting the Denver Nuggets right now, Zeke has hurt him all year. There's no bench.
Yeah.
And I think that's just starting to catch up to him right now. But no one cares. The OKC and others watching this game, they're going to have to go to that reserve tank, like Aaron Gordon talked about, and come out and be physical. I think they have to push pace versus playing more half court.
Now, I hear you say that, right? And I think of Game 4, Zeke, was just, 36 hours after the overtime game on Friday night. Then you got an afternoon game in altitude on Sunday. Do you think that weekend, 2-game stretch they had will have an impact on this game Tuesday as we have progressive fatigue?
Yeah, as the series wears on and now you're playing physical basketball where people are touching each other, bodies moving around. Yeah, these type of series wear you down. But who does this type of series favor? The big man. So while the early 3 or 4 games, everybody's moving, jumping up around, a little frisky. But when you get to 5, 6, and 7, you're a little sore, you're a little tired, you're not moving as fast. And all of a sudden, the big guys, they're bigger. So I expect Joker 5, 6, and 7. He ain't going to be like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the Joker they getting ready to see tonight, they getting ready to see the real monster because even though you're playing at home, OKC, right? And even though the crowd and everything and you got adrenaline going, there's still some bumps and bruises. And while we talk about Caruso leaning on the Joker and everything, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. And eventually that wears you down. So those long three-point shots that they take and was making, those are going to become misses. And we're seeing with SGA right now, he's starting to, wear down a little bit. And that's what a long series does.
Yes, certainly great to see these two MVP finalists, Nikola Jokić and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But hold on, the clutch player of the year, Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, one win away from the Eastern Conference Finals. The NBA draft lottery results, and in the shocker of the night, the Dallas Mavericks getting the number 1 overall pick. But here's the thing. We see where these teams are. Congrats to the Mavericks for getting that top spot. But look at the top performers in this postseason. Anthony Edwards, the only guy in the top 6 when you look at most points this postseason. Smitty, when you see this, it's kind of a reminder of, okay, guys like Jalen Brunson drafted early in the second round. Donovan Mitchell should have gone higher, 13th in the first round in 2017. It's like, hey, you can get it right further down in the draft.
It is, and I think confidence means a lot. And the reason why I say that is, there was guys that was ranked, Isaiah, when I was coming out, I never saw him play.
Yeah.
I never saw him on tape. It was like a fear factor. Marcus Liberty. I was like, I never seen Marcus Liberty, even though it was Detroit, Chicago. But now these guys, they get a chance to see each other from 8th grade all the way through.
Yeah. And not only do they get a chance to see them, they get a chance to have played against them, so they know where they're ranked and they know how good they are.
Happy birthday also to one Dennis Rodman, your former
big man. Happy birthday.
teammate.
Happy birthday.
This has been Playoff Central Live. We'll see you after the action of both games tonight.